having these sessions is so that, you all these doubts that you'll have, it gets cleared, and you all are well aware that why is this done. Right. So in the past, we've spoken about, why is Posh there, why it has been made a part of, our company, and, why is it also made a part of companies? How do you know if, you are facing any workplace sexual harassment kind of issues? And, what is the workplace sexual harassment kind of categories that can come up to you, so that, you can distinguish whether, it is a sexual harassment, or whether it is an appealing kind of a situation, or whether it is an uncomfortable kind of a situation. Also, what should you do in terms of, if you come across such kind of a situation, how things need to be handled, what is the process or procedure in terms of having things, highlighted. And then, as I mentioned before, what are the kind of categories? So, Posh, basically, the word defines, the kind of word that it is. It also defines what exactly it is, right? The word says it all. So the word says it all. As I said, the word is like your prevention against sexual harassment. Now, for us being employees of a company or as a person, it's very important that we understand what are the different types of Posh kind of situations that can come up. Sometimes we are not able to distinguish. We are not able to differentiate what is the different situation that can arise, whether they need to be recorded under Posh, or whether it is just a random situation which has just happened. Right. So today in the session of ours, we're going to be talking about, Posh in terms of category wise, right? We have spoken a lot in detail about definition. Today we're going to be talking about category wise. So, Shrika, hi. Can we, so I'm going to be playing a video for you all, which is going to categorize the kind of Posh incidents that have happened, right? So, yeah, I hope you'll listen to it and understand. And any questions, please bring it on in terms of either you can speak to me, or either you can, ask me directly as well.
Yeah, so and also you can use any of these center WhatsApp group, or you hope everyone know the DC Live WhatsApp group, and you can also share any question to me in private. This is Srileka who I'm talking to you, and also you can use the DC Live chat box if you have any concern. Yeah, thank you. So go ahead with the video, Shakti.
Advantage to someone in return to something. Quid pro quo harassment occurs when a manager or anyone in authority offers or proposes to provide some favor like a salary raise or position to an employee in return for that employee's satisfaction of a sexual demand. Additionally, this type of sexual harassment also occurs if the manager promises not to fire or punish an employee for her wrongdoing if she provides him some kind of sexual favor. This kind of behavior can also be seen in case of a job applicant being told that the decision to hire her depends on the acceptance or rejection of sexual advances. Next is hostile working environment. Hostile working environment is a category of sexual harassment in which the employee is subject to physical, verbal, or non-verbal conduct or behavior that is uninvited and unwelcome. In contrast to quid pro quo sexual harassment, where the harasser is an authoritative or superior position than the employee, a co-worker or a boss can create a hostile working environment that does not provide an employee with a favorable condition to carry out his or her duties. A hostile working environment is generally related to the gender of the person being harassed. It interferes with the ability of the person to do his or her job. The common behaviors that attribute to a hostile working environment are stalking, ogling, and gossiping against the employee. Another common form of sexual harassment is psychological harassment. Psychological harassment is defined as humiliating or abusive behavior, which is identified by comments, behavior, actions, or gestures that are frequent, hostile, and are intended to negatively affect the employee's integrity and dignity. Psychological harassment can be countered only if it is prevented from becoming repetitive and is nipped in the bud by the employer. This means that the employer must take reasonable steps to put an end to such a behavior whenever it is brought to their notice. When harassment is carried out using computer and the internet, it is known as internet harassment. Internet harassment is prevalent at home, school as well as work. It is also called cyberbullying. It is defined as the use of the internet to threaten or harass the other person. Examples of cyberbullying include spreading rumors, sending unwanted emails, sending viruses by email, harassing a person using chat, comments or tweets, sending sexually suggestive messages. Now that we have learnt about types of sexual harassment, let us understand what the reasons that lead to such behavior are. A major cause of sexual harassment includes flawed upbringing and lack of values of the harassers. The viewpoint that they grow up with impacts their behavior throughout life. In addition, some men get a false sense of power when harassing women. There are some others who feel threatened when women do well in their career. Their ego cannot accept the fact that women are equally capable of doing whatever men can. Sometimes, the lax attitude of the organization towards incidents of sexual harassment also encourages harassers to subjugate women co-workers and display their aggression and discomfort by way of sexual harassment. Let us understand the harassers based on their psychology. It is difficult to know the psychology of the sexual harassers. However, there are certain common traits that you may find in people exhibiting sexual harassment. Some of the harassers experience self-esteem issues leading to exhibiting such behavior. Harassers can be broadly categorized into 6 groups. Mr. Macho, those who link harassment to bravado. The Great Gallant is a category of harassers that pay excessive compliments and make personal comments at their victims. The Opportunist. This kind of harasser look for opportunities such as office parties, being alone in elevators, etc. and ogle at women and touch them inappropriately. The Power Player. The harasser belonging to this category exhibits the power of their position to get sexual favors from women. The Serial Harasser. He is habitual and may be having an underlying psychological problem. The Situational Harasser. This category of harasser displays the conduct or behavior due to a life situation or a medical problem such as divorce, wife's illness, impotence, etc. Let us try to gauge the impact of sexual harassment on the employees. Sexual harassment impacts employees physically, mentally, emotionally, as well as financially. Some of the common impacts of sexual harassment on the victims are psychological suffering including humiliation, reduced motivation, loss of self-esteem and loss of trust. Behavioral change include isolation, emotional withdrawal from friends, family and co-workers. Stress-related physical and mental illness including sleep disturbances, stomach ailments, as well as drug and alcohol abuse. Professional losses, foregoing career opportunities, leaving employment. Sexual harassment not only impacts the employees but also the organization per se. Common impacts on the organization are sexual harassment at the workplace results in low productivity. This happens because of the lack of trust between team members, absence of motivation to work to one's full potential, low attendance, and higher attrition rate. It can result in lack of progress and innovation because team members do not trust each other or the employer. Sexual harassment instances result in the loss of goodwill for the organization. Applicants do not apply for jobs in such companies because of the fear of sexual harassment. Welcome to the module on global initiatives in prevention of sexual harassment. After completing this module, you will be able to summarize initiatives taken by developed nations to cope with sexual harassment. Describe initiatives taken by developing nations for curbing sexual harassment. In the previous module, we discussed sexual harassment and its types. We also discussed the underlying causes of such behavior and the harmful effect it has on individuals and organizations. Sexual harassment is not just prevalent in India, but has been experienced by women all around the world. It has a deep-rooted negative impact on the quality of work in specific and quality of life in general, and impacts the well-being of women and men. In this module, we will look at initiatives, workplace policies and programs undertaken by various developed and developing countries to cope with the menace of sexual harassment and ensure that such harassers are severely punished. The government issues guidelines on how to design anti-sexual harassment policies and procedure, as well as offer counseling to workers who have been the targets for sexual harassment. The UN General Assembly adopted the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW, in the year 1979. This convention is acknowledged as an international Bill of Rights for Women. It consists of a preamble and 30 articles and defines discrimination against women. It also provides a plan to end such discrimination. Let us look at how does Convention defines discrimination. According to CEDAW Convention, discrimination against women is defined as any distinction, exclusion or restriction made on the basis of sex which has the effect or purpose of impairing or nullifying the recognition, enjoyment or exercise by women, irrespective of their marital status, on a basis of equality of men and women, of human rights and fundamental freedoms in the political, economic, social, cultural, civil or any other field. Let us examine the CEDAW Convention a little more closely. CEDAW is an international treaty and was the first attempt to lay down guidelines to promote basic human rights and specifically underline the rights of women. It provides an agenda to counter gender discrimination across all the countries that adhere to this convention. Since its inception, 189 countries have ratified it. India ratified it in 1993. The contents of this treaty are divided into 6 parts that span 30 articles. The major focus areas of these articles are: Article 1 emphasizes the definition of discrimination and clearly defines discrimination against women and what all it covers. Article 2 talks about the obligations that must be taken to eliminate discrimination. It specifies that all countries must let go of laws that discriminate among employees. It also emphasizes that the policies to eliminate discrimination must be adopted as a part of the national legal framework. Article 3 discusses the development of women. It further states that women are equal to men in all respects in all the spheres of life, and nations must take steps to uphold women's equality in all fields, including cultural, political, social, and economic fields. Article 4 focuses on the acceleration of equality. It further asks countries to implement temporary measures in order to accelerate the equality of women. Article 5 explains sex roles and stereotyping. This article elaborates stereotyping and prompts the countries to modify or eliminate such practices that encourage stereotyping. Article 6 elaborates the problem of exploitation of women and emphasizes that it must be stopped at all costs. So, how do we understand what acts portray human rights violation? A few examples of human rights violation are: restriction of freedom, violation of personal safety at workplace and at leisure, denial of equal opportunity in terms of choosing a career, disrespect of dignity of women by others, or intolerance for difference of opinion with others. Now, let us take a look at how the developing nations, including India, are taking steps to counter the menace of sexual harassment. Let us take an example of the occurrence of sexual exploitation in India and the options available to counter it. Consider a scenario. Maya belongs to a financially backward community and works as a nanny for a working couple. The woman, however, leaves for work an hour before her husband. However, as soon as the lady of the house goes out to work, her husband starts touching Maya inappropriately and making lewd comments at her. Do you know that such instances now come under Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace, Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013. Let us look at the salient features of the Posh Act. The Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace, Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013 was implemented with effect from 9th December 2013. The Act seeks to cover all women, irrespective of their age or employment status, and protect them against sexual harassment at all workplaces in both public and private sector, whether organized or unorganized. Sexual harassment at the workplace is defined in a comprehensive manner, in keeping with the definition laid down in the Vishakha judgment and broadening it further to cover circumstances of implied or explicit promise or threat to a woman's employment prospects or creation of hostile work environment or humiliating treatment which can affect her health or safety. The Act further defines the workplace to include organizations, department, office, branch unit, etc. in the public and private sector, organized and unorganized, hospitals, nursing homes, educational institutions, sports institutes, stadiums, sports complex and any place visited by the employee during the course of employment including the transportation. For the first time, the Act provides protection to regular or temporary or ad hoc or daily wage employees, whether for remuneration or not, and can include volunteers. This covers domestic workers too. The Act under Section 4 and Section 6 creates a redressal mechanism in the form of internal committee, that is IC, and local committee, that is LC. The Act mandates that the committee shall complete the inquiry within a period of 90 days. On completion of the inquiry, the report will be sent to the employer or the district officer, as the case may be, and they are mandated to take action on the report within 60 days. The Act under Section 19 casts a responsibility on every employer to create an environment which is free from sexual harassment. We will discuss
I think we are done with this session
in the next module.
Shakti?
Welcome to the module,
Thanks.
History of Prevention of Sexual Harassment at the Workplace.
Has heard the different types of categories, the different types of situations that come up with regards to sexual harassment. So today's was more about to make you all aware about the different types of sexual harassment. See, sexual Posh is very, very vast, right? There are so many situations. If we actually have to count, the number is going to be less of the different kind of scenarios that happen. So yes, today was to cover up with this. I hope you all have had a good session. You all have had a good hearing session. In case of any questions, we can wait for another minute or so to see if anybody is putting down any questions, please.
So we didn't have any questions so far, Amanda. So the thing is maybe next we'll bring some participants from the floors. So if they will ask them to do, if possible, in Tamil also, to cover the larger number of audience. Yeah.
Okay, will do.
Yes.
So then that's it from me for today's session.
Yeah,
thanks to everybody who's listened in. Thanks a lot.
Any other inputs, Amanda, you would like to say on this? No, people might be scared or they don't know. They know how to approach the people.
See, as I mentioned last time, we covered up with this point with regards to there should not be any apprehensions related to, concerning situations which is making somebody or a person or an employee uncomfortable, right? Yeah. The first thing is go to the person who you think you are comfortable to talk with. The next step is that person highlights it to the concerned person, either the Posh committee members.
These things to be confidential, right?
Yes, it has to be very important. See, what happens, she in many situations, like if I am in a scenario, right?
Yeah.
I may not want to bring it up to the management or my boss. I may want to bring it up to you because you and I are closely we are close colleagues. I will bring it up to you. Now, you definitely don't think the way I think, right? And you have realized that, yes, no, it is a situation which has to be highlighted. So you take it up to the reporting manager. Those situations are also fine.
The person is not interested. Still, the second person can take the situation to the managers.
Yes, why not? Because at the end of it has to be reported, right? I am apprehensive, I am feeling ashamed, I am not feeling comfortable in getting this to, to known. So then there has to be a way, a mechanism that, no, this is not right, it has been informed. Any situation, any kind of scenario which is unappealing, not comfortable, has to be highlighted to the concerned person, whoever is
Okay.
next, of the known person or unknown person who knows about it.
Mm-mm-mm.
It can be highlighted by anybody. See, supposing I and somebody else are in a situation and somebody's trying to be physical with me, but as a third person, you have viewed it. You
Yeah.
can highlight it. There's no harm.
Okay. Got it.
So yeah.
Thanks, Amanda. That's all the question from
Okay.
mine. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks a
Thank
lot,
you.
everybody. Thanks for listening in. Bye.
Thank you. So these